rejects a parent for a good reason. But in alienation, you have to be able to show that that parent has not engaged in abusive or seriously deficient parenting. So I think so far, I think almost everybody would agree with this, even people who criticize the concept of parental alienation. So the fourth factor has to do with alienating behaviors. That to prove this in court or even in a clinical setting, you have to be able to show that the preferred parent has manifested a number of alienating behaviors. And you all might be familiar with the research of Amy Baker, that there's a list that many of us use of 17 common alienating behaviors. You know, like one of them is the parent makes the child think that the other parent is dangerous, or the parent withholds parenting time. Well, there are 17 of these. And so that's a criterion for diagnosing parental alienation. And the fifth factor, which is that the child manifests some of the symptoms of parental alienation. And as you probably know, there are 8 common symptoms. The first one is campaign of denigration and so on. One of them is lack of ambivalence, and that means that the child feels one parent is totally, totally good and the other parent is totally, totally evil. And there are 8 of these that have been studied extensively. So if you look at these 5 factors, oh, incidentally, we didn't invent anything new. I mean, all 5 of these have been around for 35 years, but we have collected them into an entity that we call the 5-factor model for the diagnosis of parental alienation. And what's interesting about them is all 3 parties are represented in one way or another. The rejected parent is represented in one of these factors, the child is represented, and the alienating parent is represented. So I just want everybody to learn about this, and I hope clinicians can adopt it. I've used this in court. The court finds it very, very helpful, and the courts quote it back to me. In other words, when the court writes a decision, the court actually lists these 5 factors and inserts examples of how different facts of that case are found in the 5 factors. So anyway, I hope you all, let me know if you need the article that spells it out or other information. Danica mentioned something about misinformation. And in fact, one topic of common misinformation actually has to do with the 5 factors. I mentioned that factor 4 is you have to be able to show that the alienating parent has engaged in specific of these 17 alienating behaviors. And 5th, you have to be able to show the child has symptoms. So there's a common misperception that of critics of parental alienation theory that what we say is different from that there's a common allegation that we say that just by taking a child who's refusing to see a parent, that we assume that the preferred parent is an alienating parent and is engaging in alienating behaviors. They have said this over and over again in published documents and articles and journals, in presentations, in court cases, and it's incorrect. I'm emphasizing this to you all so that you know that when you hear certain criticisms of parental alienation theory, many of them don't make any sense. And this is one that we have been accused of this fallacy over and over again, that the accusation is that we take a child who doesn't want to see a parent and we automatically assume that it's an alienated child who's been indoctrinated by the preferred parent. In other words, we do that without actually finding evidence of alienating behaviors. So that's a really serious form of misinformation. It's very common. If you happen to see it, the answer to it is, show me in the PA literature, show me where it says that. Because even though that is cited by critics of parental alienation, as far as I can tell, no writer in the PA literature has ever said that any child who rejects a parent is a result of the other parent being an alienating parent. I'm not aware that anybody has ever said that in the legitimate parental alienation literature, because we would always say, well, there are many reasons. There are various reasons why a child might not want to see a parent, and you have to find evidence to find out what the right answer is. So anyway, those are a couple of topics. I know we're going to talk about a lot of different things in the next hour, but that's what I wanted to tell you all about.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do. Do any of our panelists have some input on what Dr. Burnett shared?
Can I say something, Danica?
Yes, go ahead, Ann.
Dr. Burnett, first of all, thank you. As an alienated parent, as a professional, I am so grateful for the 5-factor model. And what, in my opinion, needs to happen is in the same way that AA and the 12-step program is a household word, we need to have the 5-factor model become a household word so that in schools and faith communities and universities, the community at large is aware. Do you have any suggestions on how we can accomplish that?
Sure, you can say the words over and over again. My friends and I have of course, tried to promote this. We have this book, Parental Alienation, Science and Law, and the entire book is structured around that. This has been published in places. It's been published in Ireland, and it's about to be published in Poland. And we try to bring this up in various places. And Amy and I actually did a survey of custody evaluators where we asked them whether they agreed with this, and the vast majority of them agreed. So we're doing whatever we can to spread the word. I hope that anybody, any of you or any practitioners, can recite it over and over. That especially if somebody says, "Oh, there isn't any systematic way," you should say, "Hey, there is a systematic way. This is what it's called." And I'd be happy, as I said, to send the article to you that explains it pretty succinctly.
So, Burnett, I have used your article and I've sent it out to many in the legal community and the mental health community. And I get the typical pushback. It seems that sometimes the law is a little bit behind on the science. And that's where, at least in Florida, what my observation is the courts can be so slow to embrace this and to see this is pretty much a plug and play. You've got the 5 factors. It's almost like a checklist. And so that's really what it seems that kind of the community at large needs to, like you say, keep repeating it over and over.
Yeah, it's going to take work, Anne. I appreciate your interest. And I think it's one of these things where we all need to kind of tune in and get on the same page and push it ahead.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Anne.
Something that occurs to me, and Siobhan, you might have some input on this, is it seems like in the courts, they're not there to diagnose. They really are not there to even analyze it on a deep level. They are there to make rulings. And by simplifying it and helping to turn it into something that's more quantitative, I would say that would help a judge to guide them into doing the right thing instead of playing it safe. Like, let's keep that restraining order on this person because it's safe. In their mind, we're keeping the family safe, but they're actually, I would say if you can speak to that about how the courts don't necessarily have the answer, and by maybe doing this, it allows them to get towards the answer and know that they're not hurting a family in the process.
Yeah, so I'm in Florida, so just so everybody knows, I can only speak to what happens in Florida. That's where I'm licensed, and I will tell you that it's very, very hard to make a case of parental alienation. I was actually just talking to a judge about this during this past week, just kind of casually about some stuff, and the judge in passing said, parental alienation isn't even really a thing. So, they are finding that, for them that it's not even something that they're really leaning towards or finding any validity to. So I think, yeah, definitely having something like this could help bring some awareness to it. And yeah, Danica, like you mentioned, so the courts here are actually always about reunification first. So I actually struggle and fight to suspend time sharing and keep children away from parents who, you know, are abusive and are having issues and are doing those things, because I tend to find that the courts for me that I've been dealing with are all about, trying to reunify, to keep the parents, and the children together, and trying to build that relationship as much as they can. But it's such an abstract thing, I think, for the courts to grasp and to see. And like, for instance, right now I have a case that's going to be going to hearing in the next week, where the mother is trying to build a case of parental alienation against my client, yet she's the one that moved to a whole nother state and moved away, and only has limited time sharing because she moved, and now she's trying to claim parental alienation. So, and is, brought doctors and experts on who's never met with my client, never seen the kid, never done anything, who these experts are saying it's parental alienation. So there definitely needs to be more education brought in for the judges, and I say even for some expert practitioners who are coming in and testifying to these things, because how can you make that claim when you've never even met with, the party that's, this person is alleging has done that. So.
But Danica, I have one question. It looks like it's from a parent. Do you want me to mention names of the parents, or just ask the question?
Just ask the question.
Okay, so basically it's for Dr. Burnett. How can the layman get a copy of this handout that you're referring to? My lawyer doesn't seem to want to take this information and put it in front of the judge.
Send me an email. Yeah, I'll give you my email real quick. It's my name, William.Burnett, BERNET, at VUMC.org. VUMC is Vanderbilt University Medical Center.org. I'd be happy, anybody who wants a copy of this article. This is the article that was published in Ireland, which is kind of neat. And sure. Incidentally, judges are so different. I mean, some judges understand this, others don't like it. Last year, I testified here in Tennessee, and the judge said, Dr. Burnett, please do not talk to me about parental alienation. The judge said, I know more about this than you do. He said, I've been a judge for 30 years. I've seen many more cases of parental alienation than you will ever see. So you don't need to preach to me about parental alienation. And he was right. He was an older man. He understood it completely. And so I think there's obviously variation in different judges and in different communities.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, great. And things are going a little bit slow because we're juggling and all, and I appreciate your patience here. Let's talk a little bit. I want to go into the topic Mark Hegarty brought up. He talked about gender division and negative campaigning. Being unable to be a hands-on father, I fill the hole in my heart by trying to create change as a way to support my daughter. I'm not in her immediate world, but I can try to positively influence the world around her. And he's setting up an organization in the UK, and he's actually here from the UK in this webinar. He's aimed at educating men on how they can support women as a precursor to prevent domestic violence. Please, go ahead. Okay, Mark Hegarty, why don't you share a little bit about yours? And I know there's several people on here that can relate to this. In fact, Mark Ludwig and several of you are fathers, targeted fathers.
Okay, well, a lot of, certainly in the UK, I see a lot of this huge gender division in the UK at the moment. And I see it a lot within the parental alienation community. But certainly more so in the UK. There was, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, a very high profile murder of a lady called Sarah Everard, who was murdered by a police officer whilst walking home a couple of months back. It started a huge campaign, which led to a lot of media, and a lot of aggressive media, which I see. And this all come about from a conversation with a friend who said to me, what's it like being the enemy? And I said, what do you mean? She says, as a white, straight, middle-aged man. And I thought that's a really good conversation because, I support Black Lives Matter, I support gay rights, I support women's rights, I support all these things. However, there's a lot of media focused on aggressive about men being wrong, men not doing these things. And the situation that we discussed that come about is I'm always in a rush to get places. And I'm sure you've all been in this situation where you're walking home and you have to overtake somebody, a lady who's in front of you, and you don't know what to do. If you hold back, you're worried that she might think that you're ready to pounce. If you rush past her, she might think you're actually going to pass. And I just thought, what can I do in this situation? And that sort of led to other conversations about, well, what as a man, what can I do to try and make women feel safe? Because I haven't seen my daughter. It'll be 5 years that I haven't seen my daughter, and I really miss, like, as I'm sure most parents who have been alienated miss being a parent, and I really miss being a father. And I thought, well, rather than because I can't to fill that gap that I have in my heart, I can try and do something as a man to try and change. To say that it isn't all, not all men are rapists, not all men are domestic violence perpetrators. However, that kind of argument sometimes isn't an argument that's going to resolve the situation that we're in. So the campaign, which fingers crossed it's been picked up as a documentary, is a journey that I've been through, is to find out what can I do as a man to support, to try and help women feel safe, rather than sort of being attacked, but take on all boards of all sides of the arguments. And then what I hope is that by coming up with a campaign that can be directed by and can be supported by men and by women, and also with campaigners who will say it's not all men, it's not all men, then with trying to get everybody involved in, let's do something positive, to say some kind of positive action that we can do as individuals. And by that, I don't want my daughter to be abused. Now, the fact is, and it's maybe contentious, that it's likely that she's going to suffer some kind of abuse in her lifetime, because that's the kind of thing that women unfortunately regressively go through. I can't stop her, whilst I can't physically stop her from doing that, I may be able to try, and I'll do everything I can to try and change attitudes, to try and sort of, as a way to try and stop, prevent, domestic violence from occurring. So, and then by sort of engaging with hardline, female campaigners, hardline male campaigners, as a lot of male, and try and, once, if we can do something here, then maybe as a next step, then let's have the conversation about parental alienation, about false allegations. And yeah, that's.
I hear what you're saying. A lot of times, and what I hear is you're trying to proactively do something positive, because I think all of us who are on social media, we hear frustrated people, and what do? We vent on Facebook, and it doesn't really serve. It doesn't serve us, and it doesn't serve the people who are reading our posts if we're bashing our ex, or even focusing on the negative aspects of them. So I see that you're trying to make a change, just be a light, so that, and be an example to your daughter.
And Danica, what I see in this situation is energy. It is, and unfortunately, it's a lot of it is, understandably, is negative, angry energy. If we can harness that energy into doing something positive, then we really have an opportunity to do something, to work together to try and create a positive change.
That's right. That's right. There's several of us, I think all of us, that you wouldn't have been invited if you were putting negativity back into the space. And I acknowledge each one of you for being part of the solution, and not amplifying, that discouraged, resignated space. I know Mark Ledwig. I don't know if everybody knows who Mark Ledwig is, but Mark, why don't you share with us from a father's perspective? What I see is you're not only very well versed in political action, but you also are like boots on the ground. I'm going to be in my kid's classroom as a substitute teacher if I have to, just to be in his life. So Mark, go ahead and share with us a little bit.
Well, first, I want to thank everybody on the panel who helped educate me. I was totally naive to parental alienation, terms like projection, and all these terms that I had no idea of. I'm the third father in line in my situation. And unknowingly, looking back now, I was a part of alienating the father number two, not understanding the dynamics of what was going on until it was too late. And I think that's the key that Mark hit on. There's so many people out there that are very uneducated, and you have to be very careful how you approach these people because you can chase them away. And I noticed that in my political activities. My main passion is fighting for equal shared parenting. I've been a part of 29 states working on legislation. We did, by the way, pass a very solid bill in Arkansas a week and a half ago that just got signed into law. It's literally the most solid 50-50 shared parenting bill in the country now. And that's my passion, but I noticed myself as I was talking to legislators who I've known for 30 years, they were very unaware of it. It wasn't that they were against equal shared parenting, they just didn't realize there was a problem. And I think that's where most people are. When I became aware of it, I started writing a journal, which I still have. I've got 37 books now that I've literally written to Levi every night before I went to bed. So he's got a diary of every night of his life, but trying to find positive ways that I don't put his mother down. But as I became aware of parental alienation, I realized that there was a high probability that someday he won't ever have any contact with me. And what if I die before he gets to hear the other side of the story? So I wrote a journal just basically letting them know from a positive standpoint how much I love him. And I'm very fortunate. The school he goes to needs substitute teachers. So this year I volunteered 17 days now as a volunteer substitute teacher. And then I help out with lunch duty, recess duty, and I've never missed a week that I've been in town of surprising him at least one day a week, because I didn't want him going all week long with no connection, because as many people are aware, phone calls aren't answered during the week. And I've never missed a week yet of at least surprising him one day at lunch in 6 years now at school. But it's been a hard fight to be a part of his life, but I think an important one. But I like your philosophy too, Danica, of not being negative, of putting his mother down, but just trying to emphasize to him how much I love him, how much he's cared about. And it really helps to have people like Tori. Tori is like a sister to me. I don't know that I would have gotten through this without Tori the last couple of years. I don't post on social media all the things that go on, but as you all can imagine, it's not always easy. And I'll tell you what, I sure appreciate people like Tori that helped me get through these last couple of years, because there's a lot of emotional alienating that I'm up against right now.
Awesome. Yeah, well, this is opportunity. Go ahead, Dawn.
I just want to say, first, I feel the same way about Tori. But Mark, I love what you said about what you're doing for your son. As an alienated child, one of the most precious gifts that I had was that my father saved certain things for me. He just knew that someday I'm going to want those things. And that went a long way towards my healing and understanding how he truly felt about me all that time. And that bridged so many gaps in between that just catapulted our ability to heal. So I commend you for doing that. And I hope that a lot of other parents consider doing that, making sure you're leaving those little breadcrumbs, because it's evidence that you thought of them. And it's so important. So I'm so glad to hear that you did that. And I'm almost 100% confident that Levi will at one point have that day, that moment as well.
That's right. It's really about planting seeds, and getting yourself educated as much as possible about it, because if you're left to your reactions, you probably we would all probably have, burned bridges by leaving ourselves to our reactions. Dr. Torrey, would you like to, why don't you go ahead and contribute, seeing as how your name got brought up?
Oh, well, they're going to bring me to tears. I'm not one to do all of that. The work that I do, yes, we put some information out. We do what we best, the best way we can. But a lot of the stuff we do is behind closed doors. When Mark says he wouldn't have gotten through it, I'm like, oh my gosh. I just lived around the corner. He sent me a text and said, I think they're coming to your hotel. And it just so happened, I said, okay, I'm going to check the beach. And I walked along the beach and there was Levi. And I took a couple pictures, like trying to sneak and take them, and sent them to Mark, and he could see his son playing in the water. And then one morning, the next morning, I walked around the corner and Levi and I made eye contact. And I was like, oh, should I say something? Do I say something? I don't know what I'm supposed to say. And so I just let Mark know. I see him, he's at breakfast. And then he brought it up later that I think Dr. Torrey thought she saw you, but I wanted to say something, but it was just those moments where I could tell him I see him, whatever. And it was just a simple walk, a block away. And with Dawn, my passion through the work that I do, in reunification, I learned that a lot of the parents had so much trauma from their childhood that reunification was almost, it was like, it should have been further out sometimes, depending on the parent. They needed to heal their journey, their childhood journey that maybe they weren't even aware of. They weren't aware of the trauma that was happening to them. And now I get to coach people like Dawn and other individuals on a call to help them understand the cognitive part of their trauma. And if we're going to talk about Parental Alienation Awareness Day, I've heard many people say, a lot of people I talk to just aren't aware. What we're doing today is bringing awareness and educating them. Awareness is just simply knowledge and perception of a situation. Most people don't know. I'm in the space of fatherlessness, which alienation does create fatherlessness, but there are other tentacles. Most people say they don't even know that they're fatherless. Over the weekend, I'm in Atlanta. I was supposed to have surgery on Friday and it got postponed. That's a whole other conversation, and I'm grateful I can sit here and not be in pain. But I've had several people come by just to say hi, and some people who came from out of town to help me during this journey. And I can tell you, majority of them said, I didn't know I was fatherless until I met you. It means we have to have more conversations. Some of them are individual conversations. Some of them are on platforms like this. Some of them are on our social media page. But you wouldn't believe how many people are just not aware of what situation they're in because they're not aware. They haven't been educated and they don't know. And I've been blessed to reunite over 8,000 children with their fathers. We didn't know that was the number until December. We thought it was 3,000, and we did an audit and learned that it was 8,237, I think is the number. And learning that number, it makes me go, oh my God, but those aren't the people that I get to touch all the time. Sometimes I'm touching people like Mark and Dawn, who no one knows about. I'm touching people that I'm just having conversations with. And that's where we have to be more intentional. Sometimes there's too many people who want credit. They want to be king of the parental alienation and shared parenting and fatherless world. Sometimes it's just about having conversations with people that you're never going to get credit for until you make it to heaven.
So Danica, I'd like to make an announcement again for those of you who just joined us. Please be sure if you have any questions for our panelists to put them in the Q&A because the chat moves too quickly. But I did catch one on chat, and this is for Dr. Torrey. What would be a legitimate or legal reason to delay reunification due to one's own alienation as children?
I don't think there's a legitimate, unless there's some abuse, unless there's like physical abuse. I don't get involved in delaying. I think you can provide a holistic wraparound service as you're taking the alienated parent through the process of reunification. We have a 4-phase process, and the therapy of someone's background is a part of that. but I'm not, for me, I don't specialize in parental alienation, but I do see it. And when we have those moments and those issues, we do bring experts in who we know are part of that. I've talked to Dawn about a few things a few times. I've talked to Jenna Noble. I've brought other people into the equation because I'm not an expert in that. We can't be an expert in everything. And so we're going to bring people in who assist with that, but we're a wraparound service. We're going to provide it while we're going through. And if we see some red flags, I have had a person, he's probably emailed all of you. When you find out that someone is an abuser and that's not a false allegation, you have to back away. You have to trust that and know that that's something else they need to go deal with. And I can't help them with that. And I'm not going to feel bad about not being able to help them, but I can give them the resources to get the help. And if they choose not to, then I have to move on. But we're going to provide it all at the same time. I don't feel like there's a legal reason not to reunite someone due to their childhood trauma, unless it's like physical abuse.
Gotcha. I'm sorry, Caroline, did you have another question?
No, some people are having trouble typing their questions in Q&A, so I'm trying to follow along as best as I can with them.
Okay, all right. Yeah, we're working,
I got a question for Tori. Dr. Tori, do you also deal with clients that do face issues of physical abuse and help them to realize where they may have gone wrong and help them to, try to unify their relationship with their children outside of the physical abuse? I do. So let me tell you, there are therapists who work with us. There are domestic violence individuals that I've become friends with over the years. And I'm going to say, what is the barrier between these two situations and who can we contact? What's a good resource for them to have? I'm a connector in life. And, over the years, I've gotten a lot of people who I've just been connected to. And I realized, you know what? I can utilize them now. It's always pulling from your hat and realizing who can you use for this person. And it's tailor-made. Stop using the same person for everyone. It doesn't fit. Every person doesn't fit every situation. And so I have to be discerning and instinctual on who's going to work. But yes, there are dads that we have, they have drug abuse problems and we've sent them to drug rehab. It's like, let's get that worked out while we're working on your legal aspect. Let's get the abuse part. Like, who are you? What is the problem? We've actually reunited fathers with their fathers while reuniting them with their children. That's happened multiple times. And the issue was they weren't with their fathers and they were angry and they were struggling through things that they had been taught as children. Right. A lot of these fathers are fatherless. And the pain is coming from that place. And I see Barbara asking me, how did I come into this work? I was actually, in your terms, I was an alienated child. I grew up without my biological father, met him at 31 and reunited with him. And one of the people who came to be with me during this weekend and the support is my father's widow. My father passed 2.5 years into me knowing him. Dawn and I have very similar stories. And my father's widow is very instrumental in my life. And to be able to share some of the things about him this weekend, we were sharing stories and I learned more about my father this weekend being with my bonus mom, even after 16 years of being reunited with him, but he's been gone 13 years now. But having her, she's always sharing things that I didn't know about him. And that's been the beautiful part. But yes, Junior, I definitely understand what you're saying. And yes, healing is available for everyone. Right. And that's some of the work I try to do with also parents, that are in, can be abusive. I try to gauge where they're at and try to, create solutions or make suggestions of where they may have gone wrong and try to, tone down the environment a little, right? And help them, guide them, in order to not be so abusive or, to change their ways. So that's some of the type of work I do up here. I'm glad you do that for mostly fathers, but also mothers as well. Everyone needs it, even including children.
I would like to point something out that I've noticed is, you're talking about this generational pattern of that, consider that every parent has in their mind the best interest for their child. And if they think that because maybe there might have been domestic violence between them and their spouse, in their mind, they're protecting their child from that domestic violence, which it's totally different. It might be a very divisive, situation that triggers each other, but the parent-child relationship is altogether separate. But the protective parent is going to do whatever it takes, especially if they didn't have a father in their life. They're going to try to control the situation. So really, I try to say that whether you're a targeted parent or you're the one that's targeting, there's personal healing that needs to be done individually, along both sides. I've seen it where a family is perpetually in supervised visitation situation that goes for years on end. And that person is living into a narrative that, oh my gosh, my child will not be protected unless they are in a supervised situation. And they just keep going on and on and on. So who needs the healing here? Is it the parent that needs to be supervised, or is it really both of them?
Both. It's both of them. They didn't accidentally meet each other. They didn't accidentally, I'm assuming, they didn't accidentally come into this relationship. No one was manipulated in that way. I get that conversation a lot. A lot of times we're attracting the parent that we're trying to resolve the issues with. So many of these fatherless individuals, they are attracting the same type of abuse, the same type of alienation, the same type of rejection and abandonment that they experienced in their childhood that they haven't resolved. And so they both need the healing.
I totally agree. Totally. All right. So who have we not heard from yet? We haven't heard Dawn's story. I haven't heard from Stan and Todd. Who else wants to chime in? We've got Dawn. You are a child who was, as a child, you were taken away from your father, and you had to track him down to have it. So you were a child of alienation. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So my story starts off where first I was abandoned by my mother, who had left me with my father for about 2 years. So he was my sole caretaker for that time. And then she came back later after remarrying, and they had a full-fledged abduction in LA. And they had a getaway car. They had a houseboat available to them for an entire week to hide me out on while LA was looking for this missing child. And then they had an airplane on the runway ready to taxi as soon as I was on board to take off and just whisk me away. So it took a little bit over a week to get me out of the state, but they eventually moved me from California to Colorado. And then things just happened from there. I had a replacement daddy almost instantly. I was told as soon as I was put in the car, this is your new father. Your other father no longer exists. And anytime I talked about him, it was redirection and telling me, no, that's not your daddy. This is your daddy. And I had a new house. I had new toys. I had new clothing. I had new everything. So nothing was familiar to me. And that kind of put me into this twilight zone or an identity crisis, because I no longer knew what was up and what was down. And on top of that, I was also in a period of 8 years violently abused and almost murdered several times by one of the new family members. So it was a very traumatic experience, and then continued, like it just didn't end. And it took me 44 years to find my father, but anytime I tried to ask my mom about him, she would shut me down. She would say things that would just scare me and not want me to ever look for him. She told me if I ever met him, I need to be carrying a gun with me just in case, because I need to protect myself because he's such an evil man. And I think I have memories and thinking, I don't remember that. I don't remember him I was never afraid of him. Now I was young, but I have a lot of very vivid memories of him. So when I'm told all this stuff, I don't want to believe it. But then when I see, okay, so where is he? Why isn't he here? Has he sent me Christmas cards? Did he call me on my birthday? These were questions that I also asked my mother, and she told me, no, we've never heard from him. So she let that sit and rot in my brain. and she let my own opinion tarnish of him because there was no evidence that he cared. So there was a time where I'd be on a roller coaster trying to determine, do I care or don't I care? Well, I don't really care right now because, you know, when children are angry, they don't necessarily process things accurately. So I had no idea what I really felt or what I really wanted. I just knew I was mad. And I knew I wanted him in the beginning to come and rescue me and take me away from this hell. But then I thought, well, I don't know anything about that either, because that could be a whole nother type of hell. So it was constantly on a teeter-totter on, do I want to have him? Do I want to look for him? Well, maybe I don't. So it took 44 years to finally find him. And then when I did, as soon as I heard his voice, I knew that none of that was true. That the familiarity in the sound and the tone of his voice, and then when I got to see him for the first time face to face, that familiarity also came back. And I just knew that this was not the person that she made him out to be. So that also helped in our healing and being able to put a lot of this behind and hear the truth. And one of the things that he was very, very careful about is that he never, even after all these years and after all the pain that he had endured, he never bashed my mom. Even 44 years later, he never said an ill word about her. He just said, I would ask him a question and he would think about, do I really want to answer this? Because it, you know, may not sound right. He would say, first of all, I'm going to start with, I still love your mother. And then he would answer the question. So he was very, very careful about how he answered me so that I was confident and secure and felt safe to ask him questions. I didn't feel him coming back to attack me. So I think that he had a really good way to address the questions and concerns that children naturally have. We have that deep inside instinct, curiosity question that just kind of eats away at us. And we want to know those questions, but sometimes our emotions kind of make it confusing and we act out with anger when we're really just so curious and we just want to hear the words we want to hear, but we don't understand what's going on. So a lot of that just kind of went away. And I just felt this calming comfort of being around him all of a sudden. So it worked out really great for me. And yeah, 44 years, a lot of parents don't want to hear about that kind of time frame. And I certainly don't want anybody out there waiting for 44 years. That's why I'm out here sharing my story, because we don't want that to happen to other parents. I don't want what my dad went through to happen to any of you. And I don't want other children to go through what I went through. Mm-hmm. So talking and sharing this information isn't about each of us as an individual. It's about all of us as a collective. And we all have to start expressing our voices and sharing these stories, because people are going to become more and more familiar and understand the terms and what actually happens. And then they may be able to recognize it. And once they recognize it and they can see it and apply it in their lives, we're teaching our communities to be on the same path and the same goals as we are, is to prevent this from happening.
Yes, good. Yeah, you know, what I hear is that it's about coming from a space of love in educating the community versus hate and outrage. And that's where ultimately you might get attention, immediate attention with anger and fear, even in the court. You might get, you know, a judge to rule in your favor because you're so afraid. But over time, the best course of action is being in a space of love and compassion for your child, and even for the other person. You know, like just last week, I had in March, my children, their father passed away, and so, you know, they're all in their 20s. They don't know what to do and stuff like that. And I got the honor of helping them to respectfully and honorably bury their father. And that wouldn't have happened if I was this person who was, you know, I hate him and all these negative things. I'm not saying that I was perfect over the last 20 years, but I would say, I just kept being a stand for the children to have love and affinity for both parents. Was why it was I got the honor of helping my children through their grieving process.
Well, and we got to witness that. Some of us got to witness that, and it was really a beautiful thing to watch how you were able to step in, and none of what happened mattered at that point. You were there for your children. And what I think is really important, what I try to share with other parents, is that I want to be able to reunify with your children, but we don't want that just one day. We want you to get invited to lunch, come back for dinner. Hey, come over Christmas morning. Would you walk me down the aisle? These are the things that we want parents to be able to achieve. And that means there is a lot of work and healing and sharing this information. Like with Mark, he has a job working as a substitute at the school. It's a beautiful way. One, it does two things. His son has an opportunity to see him, but also other people have an opportunity to see him as an advocate or a volunteer in a position that he is respected. And that is huge. That's an excellent idea. That's a good place to put yourself in these situations, as hard as they can be. But things like that help get you a little bit closer. Caroline?
Yes, thank you, Dawn. I'm just I'm excited because I've got 4 questions here for you. So let me start with
one second before you start, Caroline, because I want to layer into what Mark was doing with the school, and myself. I'm part of the school board, part of the school council. I'm a parent. I was a parent representative for my daughter's ward, and I'm trying to do the same thing now that she's moved into another area of Canada, trying to do the same thing there. And it's very important that you are present as a parent in whatever aspect you can be, especially with education. And it shows a lot to your children, and it shows a lot to the community in general. So I just wanted to say, Mark, that's a very good thing that you're doing, and continue. And to others, even there's some attendees that are here that have done the same. That's one of the best things that a parent can do, is to continue to be involved, especially in education. That's one of the easiest things you can do.
I think that's a huge point, because the thing is to not work on the relationship side and only focus on the court side is really going after the booby prize. You're not getting, the big win is the relationship, and it may not look how you wanted it to look like with 50-50, time. Okay, so Siobhan,
Hello,
before you ask
welcome
the
to the
question,
Spotlight
Caroline,
Show.
sorry.
I'm your host. My name
Siobhan
is
said
Jabez
that she's
Napoleon
got to-
Obali, and
she's
I'm
got to
very
bounce,
excited to be with you
real
today.
quick.
And guys, you
Before
know
you
that
go,
I
can
love
you,
you guys so much, and
would you
every
like
week
to
we're always here
say some
bringing
final
you,
words before you
data and
step
insights
out?
so that we can make informed decisions.
Yeah, so
This is
thank
what the
you for
Spotlight Show
having.
is about. So I want to say welcome to the show, and to all my amazing viewers, wherever you may be. If you're watching us live right now, I want to say thank you. So please note, we are live right now from the studio of GBKM in Toronto. So wherever you may be, because we have people from across the globe watching us from different time zones. Wherever you may be, I want to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the Spotlight Show once again. And remember, do not forget to like and subscribe to our channel so that all the wonderful episodes from Spotlight Show and every other show we have on our platform, on our network, you can be able to get notified. Have you downloaded the app yet? We have our own GBKM app. So please go to the App Store, Play Store, and download the app. So that way you can get notifications straight on your mobile devices, and you have access to current and past shows. And of course, we just took a break from the Parental Alienation show, and to bring you this show right now live. And if you've been watching that show, I want to say thank you, and we'll get back to that as well. So say thank you once again, and I want to say a quick thank you to for all my supporters, including you at home. If you're watching me from home, from your mobile device, from your TV or laptop, I'll say thank you. And of course, to our corporate sponsors from, the African Young Entrepreneurs based in Johannesburg, doing amazing thing, www.ayeonline.org. Thanks to Imani's Place as well. You know, it's black-led, you know, female-run. It's a shelter for women who are victims of domestic violence, you know, homelessness, you know, etc. So give them a call or reach out to them on www.emanispace.org. And this show is made possible by Pan-African Arts, Culture and Trade Institute, PACATI, www.pacati, and of course, Daniola Corporation. Thank you so much. And of course, we must say it's very special thank you to Top Run Consulting. They are the leaders in IT certification. And of course, you're looking for career change in IT, they are the place to go. www.toprun.ca. They have wonderful programs and certification. All right, what is today's show about? Today's show is quite interesting, you know. This is just a costume, guys. So I don't work for the ambulance or anything. So I love uniforms, and hence why I'm wearing this today. So today's topic is very interesting. It's called what? Online grocery delivery and pickup service business. And we have someone in the studio today to tell us about their wonderful journey in this particular industry, and so that way we can learn from them. So I have a special guest on the show today, and I want to introduce you to my special guest. And with me is Betty Olatunde. So Betty, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very great, thanks for asking.
Awesome. I'm so excited because, you know, guys, I always tell people, I'm so amazed by online business, you know, and I really want to know more. I want to really get to understand the dynamics, you understand, and how it works. Hence why I brought in a subject matter expert today who's going to tell us, you know, her own journey into entrepreneurship and how she's been able to set up, you know, an online grocery delivery and pickup service. So, Betty, it's better it comes from you. Who are you? Introduce yourself to our guest.
Certainly. So, Betty is my name. The name of our business is Dunamis Foods International, Inc. So Dunamis Food is an online grocery store where you can order your favorite grocery from the comfort of your home and have it delivered right at your door. Dunamis Food is also a hybrid business where we can bring in your items from Nigeria to Canada.
Oh my goodness, that's exciting, you know, because not only are you doing a grocery delivery business, you're also doing logistics. That's correct. That's 2 in 1. So now that's eye-opening for me. So tell me, Dunamis Food, why did you decide to go into such a business, you know, grocery delivery, pickup service, and logistics? Why, of all the businesses, why that?
So for every establishment, there is always a story.
Yes.
And for Dunamis, we looked at the market. We looked at what we liked and what we do not like, what we cared for, and things that we could get rid of.
Okay.
So what we did a survey and we threw it out to all of Canadian provinces to get a lot of Africans' feedback on things that they could get rid of and things that they could see. From the survey, a lot of concerns were centered around customer satisfaction.
Oh.
So for Dunamis, we feel that if we could give somebody something that they cannot get anywhere else, certainly they will circle back to us. So in addition to that, we also look at the dynamic of the business life circle here in Canada. Balancing the demands in everyday life, work-life balance can be very, very rocky. And a lot of people had to settle for different alternatives.
True.
Unhealthy food because there is no time to balance work, do their grocery.
Okay.
So Dunamis was born to give you convenience and extremely satisfying experience.
Oh my goodness, I'm sold, guys. I'm sold. So I understand. What's your customer base like? So do you cater to, you know, any kind of grocery, be it European foods, Oriental food, or just mostly African?
For now, on our website, we have mostly African food.
Okay.
In the long run, we aim to diversify to a lot of European. You'll see that there's a lot of similarities in our products.
That's true.
Most of the things that we have, Chinese people, they eat the same thing, Indians and all that. So we intend to cater for all of the rest of the market, but a gradual start for the African market.
Oh my goodness, this is interesting. Everyone knows that, of course, I'm African, you can tell by my color. And my country of birth is Nigeria. So I eat Nigerian food and I like African food, you know, and I do my grocery. And so this is a service I'll definitely use. And you're going to tell us more about this business. But before we go there, for those that's watching right now, okay, they may have a product, they may have a service, and they are a bit skeptical. Because remember, Spotlight Show, we're here to empower, give people the information so they can make informed decisions. So what motivated you to go into this business? Apart from what you just said, why what Dunamis does, as a person, you know, because most people are like, you know what, I better do a 9-to-5 job. I don't like the hassles of business and all that. But you took the bold step to say, you know what, let me partner with some people. Let's get this business started. Let's close this gap. What motivated you to do that?
One of the great motivation why we established Dunamis was to fill up a vacuum. There was a void missing, especially in the black market.
Okay.
When you see that the statistics says 86% of Africans are unsatisfied with a lot of things when they see. So we thought to ourselves, what if we can redefine the overall grocery business outlook? What if we can redefine your expectation like you've never had it before?
Wow.
So we gave birth to Dunamis to fill up that void that is missing.
Wow, this is interesting. This is interesting. Oh my goodness. You know, so for everyone watching right now, you can hear from Betty, okay? So Betty, before she even started, she had to do some survey. She did a market survey, and she saw the gap, and she saw the niche market, and she took advantage of that. This is very interesting. But you make it sound so easy. So tell me, were there any challenges at all on your journey?
Absolutely,
Okay.
lots of challenges. There is no stepping stone without an actual stone. So when we initially launched, one of the things that was a great challenge to us was the website.
Okay.
After we launched, we realized that there was a different version for mobile, there was a different version for desktop, and it wasn't compatible for smartphones and all that. And after we launched, we had a lot of complaints where people were saying, oh, my phone, we can't get it. We had to redefine, redid another website.
Okay. Wow, that's a whole lot of technological constraint there.
Yeah.
That's interesting. For anyone listening now, you can learn from their own shared experience. Okay, so apart from technology, were there any other challenges in being able to start this business or grow this business or make people aware of this business?
Yes. Apart from technology perspective, when we talk about the business itself, you will hear a lot of vendors tell you that shelf life for every inventory is 12 months.
Okay.
Understandably true. But one thing my partners and I will not compromise is your health at the expense of our profit. So with all our inventories, once it says expired, it is expired. It's out of stock.
Wow.
We throw it out and we get you fresh produce. When we did out our survey and went to every other grocery store, we went to different stores and we asked them, how do you preserve this? And they told us, oh, you just scratch out the expiry date because it's still consumable.
Wow.
But one thing we guarantee our customers, because this is what Dunamis was born, extremely satisfying experience. We will not jeopardize our customers' health with our profits. So once it's expired, it's out of stock, you get fresh ones. We toss it out. This is a challenge because as a business, we want to make profit, but not at the expense of our customers' health.
Oh my goodness. So that's eye-opening. I personally do shop in, African foods, in African grocery shops. And personally, I've had experience whereby I bought something. When I get home, I notice it's spoiled or it's expired or something. We're too bad. Because sometimes for me to leave my home to go get those groceries, it's a bit of a drive. So which means the next time I'm opportune to even go there might be a week or 2 weeks after. Right. So you're telling me if I buy something from Dunamis, from your platform, and it gets delivered and I have any issue with it, I can return it at no expense to me.
Absolutely. At no cost, no expense to you. Just give us a call and everything is returned.
Oh my goodness, this is amazing, guys. So this is too good to be true. So we will definitely have to test this company to make sure that what Betty is telling me here, which I believe her, you understand, we can experience it. It's true. It's true because the biggest challenge we found, I mean, if you're watching me from Africa, you may not understand because back in the continent, people go to the market, people go to the shop. But remember, your grocery shop is within your community. Some of them are, walkable distance.
That's right.
Especially in Toronto, in Greater Toronto area, other parts of Canada. Trust me, guys, you have to drive to grocery store except you're opportune to live within that vicinity where the store is located. So this is very, very huge, and I'm really grateful for you guys for bringing up this particular, business and then to solve this gap. No, it's really, really amazing and interesting. You talk about what motivated you. You talk about your challenge. Okay, so tell me now, some people may be out there watching us right now, or they will see this recording after the live show because we share it on YouTube and on WhatsApp, on various platforms. Okay. They've not heard of Dunamis Food before, so which means they've not used it. So tell me, what's your message to them?
My message to you would be, we give you convenience, satisfaction, and contentment. So you can take care of every other thing and let Dunamis do your errand for you, your groceries.
Oh my goodness, and not only that, you also have the guarantee. If you don't like it, if it's expired or there's anything wrong with the produce, you are giving a replacement free of charge.
That's correct.
That's amazing. I'm going to definitely try Dunamis food. Guys, you've heard from Betty. We're going to go on a short break, guys. But when we come back, we have so much more information to share with you. Are you someone sitting and watching this video? You're looking for a new business to go into? Okay. Are you interested in online delivery and pickup service? Are you interested in logistics? Okay. We have, someone in studio today who can actually share experience that you can learn from. So sit back, relax. We're going to be right back after this short break.
My name is Karo, and I'm currently a project coordinator. I took the project management course. I learned a number of things, one of which was interview skills. I learned about the Agile framework and how that's very different from the waterfall model of project management.
At Top Run Consulting, the key unique area that we try to focus on is not to just impart certification knowledge, but the application of real-world tools.
Back in June 2017, I did the business analysis course at Top Run. I learned the basic and advanced skills and tools to be successful in business analysis field.
All right, welcome back. And if you're just joining us, this is the Spotlight Show. I'm your host, Jabez Napoleon Ogbole. You are watching us right from the GBKM studio in the city of Toronto in Canada. If you've been with us since, we just went on a break and we are back. And today we're talking about what? Online grocery delivery and pickup service business. And that's why we have in our studio today, the co-founder of Dunamis Food, Betty Olatunde, who has shared with us our experience so far. And this is very, very amazing, Betty. It's I can't wait to try. I haven't tried Dunamis food. I won't lie. I haven't tried it, but I can't wait to try it. So tell us, walk us through. For anyone watching right now, is there an app or you have to go on the site or you call?
We have a website.
Okay.
So you can go on our website. It's www.mydunamisfood.com.
Okay.
And our phone number is there. You can always place an order even by giving us a call.
Oh, okay. So the way it works is you go to the website, you see the cart. So you have all the different produce you have. So tell us, what kind of produce? Dry food,
we have
frozen
dry
food?
foods. We have nippy meals, your Milo, your peak milk. We have chin-chin. We have meat, frozen food. We have everything that you think of when you think of African food. When you sit back in your house and you think of Nigeria, the very thing that comes into your mind, check on our website. We have them all for you.
Oh my goodness, this is amazing. So it's like a Walmart for African food.
That's correct.
This is interesting, Betty. I like this. So somebody may be watching us because everybody says, good things happen in Toronto because it's very multicultural. We have a lot of population. So someone is probably watching now from BC or Manitoba or even from Halifax in Nova Scotia. Right. How can they use the service?
Absolutely. So we deliver Canada-wide.
Okay.
So when you place your order, we have a three-step verification process.
Okay.
So once your order is placed, you get an email stating that your order has been confirmed. Okay. Somebody from our customer service representative will also give you a call to tell you that we have received your order.
Okay.
We process the order within 24 to 48 hours, and we send it out.
Oh my goodness.
And when your order is sent out, you also get a message.
That's interesting. So when I place the call, there's a personal touch because
that's correct.
I get a confirmation through a human voice, not a machine.
Not a machine.
Oh my goodness. So that's quite interesting because it gives people the convenience. Because our own, the African market, the demographics is quite unique because we got separate culture. Right. And we always like that human touch to everything.
Right.
And that gives people a lot of peace of mind, which Dunamis offers. That's very, very interesting. Thank you so much. So in terms of so I go in there, I make an order. Are there any additional costs or just delivery charge?
So depending on where you live, there's always delivery charge.
Okay.
For example, if you're in GTA, I think it's about $7.99.
Okay.
And then it depends on how far it is going, out of GTA or if it's going out of province. All the charges are there once you put in your postal code.
Goodness me, that's so affordable because it costs me more to drive because the price of fuel to a grocery store. Sometimes I have to queue up. Yeah. Okay, and that's nice. And so this is your site right now on the screen right now, so everybody can see the site. You can log in, you can register, you can even search for produce. This is really amazing. So it's very user friendly. I see.
It is.
Are there any product you will not offer currently or even in the future?
Not product that we have thought about.
Okay.
But what we do before we carry out any products, we look at the convenience, the comfort, and because these products come from Nigeria,
Okay.
we look at how consumable it might be,
Okay.
how feasible as well it might be.
Okay.
So when we hear what our customers want, we listen to their feedback and look at the regulations behind the products
Okay.
in Canada.
Okay.
That is very mandatory before we carry anything.
Oh, okay. That's interesting because you just made mention of Nigeria. So 'cause I- Nigerians claim to be the giant of Africa because they have the most population. For a Sudanese or a South African or a Ghanaian watching, does that mean that the kind of produce that they expect won't be on your platform?
Not at all. Right now, we still have Banku flour.
Wow.
We have a lot of other Ghanaian things.
Mhm.
So we have a lot of African groceries, like I
Mhm.
said. And as time infuses, we will pivot into more European food,
Mhm.
Oriental, more towards every other. But
Mhm.
right now, we're focusing on Africa. And when I say Africa, mostly Africa. A lot of African produce.
Okay. No, that's interesting. That's interesting. All right, this is mind blowing. Everyone that's watching. So you heard if you're from South Africa, or you're from East Africa, or you're from any part of West Africa or Central Africa, go to the platform, check it out, because you see, our food is all similar. The brand may be different, but it's
That's
same
right.
what do you call it? Sorry,
Semolina.
Semolina, the same rice, long grain rice, or black eyed beans, etc. So guys, check it out, and I know you won't be disappointed. So this is very interesting, and I like the fact that you give product guarantee.
That's correct.
Not only that, customer satisfaction is very key to you.
That's right.
Okay, which you see a bit of challenge, you understand, in
Right.
most small and upgrowing business, being able to satisfy every customer is a big challenge there. So you do that. There's convenience as well, which is very interesting. And what I like the most is that whether you're in Toronto or you're in Greater Toronto area or in a different province, you can also use the site. It's a World Wide Web. Go
Yes.
there. All right. So tell me, what's your long-term goal for this business?
So every business is like a baby. When you have a baby, you want to see them grow.
That's right.
So when you have a business, like Dunamis, we want to see it grow. So our long-term goal in the next 3 to 5 years, we want Dunamis to build a big brand resonance in the mind of people.
Okay.
For example, if I say I want to take coffee, what's in your mind?
Tim Hortons. Yeah.
If
you're
I
in
say
Canada.
I want to eat burger, what's in your mind?
McDonald's.
So that is the kind of brand resonance we want to build with Dunamis. In the next 3 years, if I say, hey, I need Milo, I need rice,
Go to
Dunamis. This is what we were trying to build.
Oh man, this is interesting. So tell me, so I see that you're trying to have that brand presence, so that way you become a market leader in this domain, which is good because you're one of the first. I know there are competitors out there, you understand, but you're one of the first that cater specifically to a niche market, which is the
That's right.
African market,
Yeah.
which is very interesting because you can go to Walmart today, you don't get a lot of African produce. You
That's
can go to Costco, you don't get it. You still have to go to
Yes.
convenience stores that cater primarily to those produce. But what you've done is bridge that gap and make it so convenient. I go in there and I can order. So do you have plans to also have other kind of produce, be it something I could get from Costco or Walmart, maybe European goods, Asian goods, etc.?
I would say a yes,
Okay.
but not directly.
Okay.
So first of all, we want to really, really cater into the African market.
Okay.
And in the long run, we will pivot into every other African good, but not specifically produce from Walmart and all that.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I like that. So, you're not trying to take the market share with Walmart.
No.
You're trying to remain unique and
Yes.
cater to specific,
Niche.
customer sector, which is
That's
which is wonderful. Thank you so much, and I really like that, guys. I hope you've been informed, and I hope you're going to take actionable steps because not only the Betty and our partners in this business see a niche. They did their own, market analysis to understand what is missing out there, what people are looking for, and they took a bold step. So this is for everyone out there. Remember, the topic of the show is online grocery business pickup service, online grocery delivery and pickup service. This is very interesting. Okay, now let's go back. Let me ask Betty this. Someone may be watching us right now, like, oh, I like that business idea. I've been thinking about it for so many years, but they didn't act because early entrance is very important. Like what we say, no matter how far you go, today if you have a pop, pop or what do people call it, soda,
Right.
and it's black in color, your mind goes to Coca-Cola or Pepsi,
That's right.
okay? Because it could be it could be Toto Pepper, it could be something else, but it's registered in people's mind. And you just made mention that in the future, this is what you want to resonate in people's mind.
Right.
So for those people out there who think it's not possible, okay, to dream of an idea, okay, to take actionable steps and birth a business, what is your word to them?
What I'm going to say is, everything is possible. Like, there is this satisfaction that is sweet to think if you attain a height that you thought was formerly impossible. So if you have a business idea, first of all, you have to think of what is the business idea doing?
Okay.
Is it solving a problem? Are you trying to just fill competition's needs? Or are you trying to meet peer pressure? Are you just trying to create a business? If you have a vacuum or a void that you're trying to maybe meet a need or answer a question, you go for it. And you see that there's a lot of people looking for answers to that question, and just give them the solution.
Oh my goodness, I like the way you put that. Just like, I mean, let me say, just like Nike. Nike said, just do it. You know,
Yes, just do it.
Just do it. People are scared of taking a bold step because they're like, oh, what if I fail? So what?
You have to try.
You have to
'Cause
try.
You never know whether it might be good. Every good business, they have to give it a try. You don't know whether it's good or not. But as long as it answers a question, it's a great idea.
I like that. I like that. So you're listening. I didn't say it, you know. Betty said it because she is someone that you have to listen to because she's been there and she's done it. So I'm very, very grateful for that response, Betty. So let me ask you, in terms of expansion, are you looking for investors? Are you at that stage yet? Or you're like, no, I want to grow it organically?
For now, we are trying to grow it organically. So from when we started, our sales and revenue is really, really great. And we haven't really looked at the factor of getting any investors. But if any opportunity comes in the future where we can't finance anything, we're more than happy, absolutely, to seek investors' help.
Oh, okay, awesome. No, that's interesting because you know this is like a baby to you, so you want to really nurture it to the point, you know, where you want it to be before you look for external forces who might take a share of your business. And I like that. Because one thing about Canada, guys, and this is why I like Canada. Canada is one of the countries in the world that actually support entrepreneurship, specifically female entrepreneurs. They don't play with females in Canada, and that's why I like it. So that's quite interesting. Why don't we talk about your competitors? Because people will be saying, oh, okay, there's so many, let me use a scenario. The taxi industry. Taxi industry was so, you know, was very close industry whereby for it to enter was very hard because there were like people who dominated the industry until someone came with technology called Uber to disrupt that. And today, everybody, I'm sure you used Uber before. I've not called a taxi for like years now. Uber has been my go-to. Okay, so now people are like, okay, how do you compare against your competitors out there? People may say, oh, why should I use Dunamis food? There are other competitors out there. What would you say to such people?
There may be a lot of competitions out there, but it depends on what the competition is offering. For me, I offer satisfaction. First of all, I want to give my customers something they cannot get anywhere else.
Okay.
That's one. And number two, I don't compromise the health of my customers with anything, with my profit. I also if you look at my website, I have IT technicians that work on that website. So for you, what that means is your information secured at all times.
Wow.
There's a lot of competition. Right now, as a result of the global pandemic, a lot of people might be offering, you know, delivery, but your assurance, what can they give to you? They may have to maybe pivot their other business ideas from ordinary store to do deliveries. But I don't think, and I don't believe that they are Dunamis. They may be like Dunamis, but they are not Dunamis.
I like that. They may be like Dunamis, but they are not Dunamis. So guys, you know, a trial will convince you. You know, enough has been said. So I want you to go to those websites. If you're watching us live right now, just check it out. You know, take a look at this. Send us questions. You can send us questions at spotlight@gbkm.fm. Okay, and you know, give us your feedback. And obviously, we may have to bring Betty back to the show to tell us more about their growth. You know, we keep track because we are yet to be our brothers' helpers and our sisters' keepers. In that way, we need to be able to create generational wealth. That is what I'm always about on this program. The need for the next generation to have something to continue with, just like Coca-Cola and the Pepsis of the world. You know, they outlive generation, and that's what we want to do. So Betty, this has been so interesting and eye-opening, and you know, we'll look forward to having you again. But before we let you go, because remember, it's a 30-minute show, and when you're having fun, time flies. Okay, we're trying to round up now. So tell me, so what do you have? You know, for those watching us, maybe listening or watching this recording, and they're like, okay, I want to go into an online business. It may not necessarily be a grocery business. I want to be an entrepreneur. You know, I want to provide a good or service. Okay, and I know you shared a little light into that before. You know, just do it. Okay, but right now, specifically before you leave, why don't you give us, your last words, your words of encouragement? Those who haven't tried Dunamis, what are they missing?
So for those who haven't tried Dunamis, what you're missing out comfort. You're missing out time that you could have spent with family to do something else. Give that to Dunamis. Let us run that for you. You're also, and then for other people who wanted to give, because that was your question?
Yes.
If you wanted to give businesses a try, what my last word for you? Again, one thing I always reiterate to people, if you see that there's a vacuum, there's a void that is needed, do your research and go for it. Because before you think of that idea, somebody else have it. So if you think you have a unique business idea, another person have that exact same idea, but maybe fashioned in a more different way. So if you've done your research and you see that it answers the questions or it creates a need, go for it. Just do it.
Yes, thank you so much. You heard it from Betty. Just do it. Whatever that idea may be, whatever that product or service, whatever that talent it is, you can monetize it. You can create a business empire. Just do it, like Betty said. Betty saw a gap. She did her own analysis, and today we have Dunamis Food. Dunamis Food is a reality, and Dunamis Food is something I'm going to be trying constantly, because what I like about the company is the fact that you have your own produce and you guarantee it, and of course it's going to save me a lot of gas. It saved me a lot of time walking around grocery stores and looking for okra or looking for beans or yam or gari and etc. And I like that. And for my Ghanaian friends, some of the produce you talk about were Banku, exactly. For my South African friends, you're looking for maybe all kinds of groundnut oil, sunflower oil, you're looking for some kind of flowers, whatever you may be. Guys, let's support our own. And this is very interesting. I want to make sure that this business grow, and that way it becomes a household name, guys. So let's you see, innovation spurs creativity. If she wasn't the first, she won't be the last. If you having same thought, why not? We encourage everybody, and she's encouraging you as well. But I mean, there may be other Dunamis out there, but they are not like Dunamis. Thank you so much, Betty. It's been so interesting, and I hope one of these days we can also bring you back to the show to tell us about your growth and any new challenges.
Certainly, absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you so for much. Having me.
You're welcome. All right, guys, as we come to the end of the show, I'm always out there seeking new information that's going to help you and I. So I always keep telling you that, generational wealth is very important. Be a role model wherever you find peace. If you find peace in your home country in Africa, you're an immigrant, you're in Canada, or anywhere else, why not make it your home? Not only make it your home, I'm a Christian, so I'll tell you, the Bible says, to whom much is given, much is expected. Participate in community events, okay? Give back, okay? Be a role model in your home, in your community, wherever you find yourself, be a positive influence, guys. So remember, we are here every week on Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, okay? So never miss the live recordings. And of course, you have this recording on our YouTube channel, on the GBKM app as well. I want to say thank you so much. So start thinking of that business idea, okay? That produce you need to monetize, okay? If it's a career, why not build that strong career and grow, okay, and help others as well. Have multiple streams of income. I always tell you, your network, your network determines your net worth, okay? If you're always networking with broke people, you're always going to be broke, or you're going to be the big fish in that pound, okay, guys? And network with like minds as well. I can't stop preaching this. You understand? We want the futures of Africa to change the narrative and be able to inspire others to do the same. There is what? Power in numbers. So I'm going to leave you with this. Okay, guys? Remember, you're always in the spotlight. The change you seek begins with you. Good night.
Trying to design a treatment protocol for adult children, because the symptoms that we can experience can be very diverse and complex. And a lot of the time when we go to seek help from mental health professionals, a lot of the time when we present, they're often quite confused as to what's happening for us, and there can be quite a lack of understanding there. So I also work with Dawn very closely. She's another adult child of severe PA and abduction. So we have the Humanly Possible channel where we interview people from across the world, a lot of adult children and parental alienation specialists. We've got a fantastic interview there with Dr. Burnett if anyone wants to go and have a look at it. And just briefly, I'm from Australia, study in Australia, work in Australia, and I just wanted to read out some of the effects that can happen to adult children if they're not, if it's not picked up, if they're not worked with when they're little or when they're adolescent, because some of us slip through the cracks. Children who may or may not be going through high conflict divorce and slip through the cracks and don't receive treatment are a big problem. And currently there's about 3.8 million children in America alone who are experiencing moderate to severe parental alienation. So we really need to start nipping that in the bud, because we do not want to be treating adults later on down the track, because the effects on them can be long lasting and often absolutely do not go away. So some of the things that adult survivors might experience are expressions of guilt, depressed mood, low self-esteem. They lack self-confidence. They can experience distress and frustration, substance abuse, delinquent behavior, separation anxiety, suicidal ideations. They can attempt suicide. They can also manifest with sleep and eating disorders, educational difficulties, hypochondria, psychosomatic illness, and fears, and often different phobias. So they also live with a lack of self-esteem, which I already mentioned, lack of trust. And often we can also see a pattern coming through to the generations that are following. So they can also experience rejection from their own children, a lack of belonging, choosing not to have their own children because of their experiences as little ones as well. And they can live with a lot of resentment and bitterness over lost time with alienated parents. And there's a lot of very serious mental health challenges that go along with this. So that's where Dawn's and my work is. And an extra layer on top of severe parental alienation is abduction. So some of us in the high conflict divorce and fight have also been taken from the other parent. And in my case, for instance, we were given different names and taken across the state. And that's a different layer on top of severe parental alienation. So now we have to look at what is our identity, what's happening for us. We're often taken away from all the family that we know. So this is also something that I'm studying and adding to my PhD. So yeah, that's just a big area of interest, particularly for Dawn and I. So yeah, basically, I don't want to bring things down too much, but this is the world that we do live in. So yeah, thank you for listening to me, and I'll just leave it at that at the moment. Yeah.
You know, you pointed something out that a lot of times parents will want to insist on their child testifying and talking to the judge, and they may, but they don't get that they are putting their child in a position of betrayal that may not manifest itself now, but down the road, that can really create such scars in that child's life, especially after the parents, maybe the parents have gotten past the alienation and stuff like that. Then everybody's getting along, but that child is like, I did horrible things. I did horrible things to one parent, and it's my fault. they don't look at it as, well, it was my parent who made me do it. It breaks my heart to see parents just determine that, you know, a 12-year-old or whatever speak and, you know, and sway the judge in a court case.
Well, what they don't realize either is that we actually do grow up, and they might stop fighting, but the legacy lives on within us, and it doesn't stop. And a lot of the time, what we'll also see is it'll just affect, even at my age, just it will affect everything from funerals that we might go to, which is a recent example. They can be arguing still at this age about stuff that's happened 40, 50 years ago. It's like, no, we don't want to hear this anymore. Like, we're trying to heal. We're trying to move past it, and you guys are still carrying this torch. So yeah, it's very, very interesting. And a lot of people think, I suppose, that once they turn 18, everything's going to be fine. So, and we're here to say it's not, and that's the work that we're doing in this space.
Right.
So I've got a question that's going to come through someone else and through me. It's interesting because I think it affects all parents, and we've even walked through this too. And I believe this is for you, Elise. I don't know for sure. How do you talk to a child who's going through parental alienation?
Yeah, it's a pretty big question. How do we talk to them? Who is we?
How do you talk to a child? I'm assuming it's a parent. I know that, you know, even having gone through everything and my children still talking to me, some days I still have a hard time talking to them. So how do you do it?
Oh, okay. So the biggest thing that worked for me when I reunited with my father after 25 years was him giving me unconditional positive regard and just being able to listen to me without judgment. It's really simple. And sometimes I'll still unload on him. I'll still have things coming through because PTSD is part of who we are. And it'll come through, and my hat is off to him, I tell you, because he listens to me. He gives me space. I can ring him 24/7. I know he's always there, even though he wasn't there for 25 years because of the severe PA or SPA, as we call it. So, and this is what I say to the parents who are coming in. You've got to remain hopeful. You've got to remain, keep the space open for them. You've got to be a healthy person yourself. You've got to get on with your life. You have to model to the kids that they're safe in your space, because often when we're at home with an alienator, that space is not safe for us. So if we get an opportunity to go to the targeted parent, they just need to give us that unconditional positive regard and just hear us and sit with us and not judge us and not pour any more stuff in our heads. In a nutshell.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to that, like I mentioned earlier, how even when I was asking the questions of my father, I came to him and asked him some pretty tough questions. And his response first started with that, first of all, I want you to know that I loved your mother and I still love your mother. So he started me off in a non-defensive position. I didn't feel like I had to defend her. All I needed to do was listen and absorb what he was saying. And it put me in a better place as the child trying to decipher, because when we come to terms with this, when you finally are faced with, I need to decide what's true and who I am really, because we were full of holes. And at least I've talked about this many times and I describe it as, you know, a lot of times you might've seen that picture circling the web where there's it looks like a sculpture of a father, a stone figure holding a child's hand, and they have a bunch of holes in each of them. And what that represents for me is the holes that were inside of me were the parts of me that that I had missing. And each of those holes were on the outside edges of them had this red inflammation, painful parts that I needed to suppress. So I'm packing those holes with something to make that pain stop. And then when we come back and we start asking the questions, that pain is still there just because we unpack it. It has never been resolved. So it's very important on how we speak to the children to let them, that it has to be done very gently. And Barbara also asked a question about how do you help your child recognize that they're a victim and seeking help. And that is, it depends on the child and what they went through. We all have different situations, different events that happen, and we have different levels of pain or anger or understanding. Sometimes we may understand that we just have to survive and we're just doing whatever we have to survive. We may not like the situation. And then other times we're so racked with the anger that we can't even comprehend what's going on around us and who's right or wrong. We're just mad at everybody. So there's so many different levels to that, but understanding that the pain is still there, no matter if we are 5 years old or 50 years old. We still have to address it, and we have to take every single piece and analyze every single thing that we were ever told and determine, is this true? And if it's true, then I have to deal with that. If it's not true, I have to get rid of that, because we can't deal with things that are not something that we can use to heal. And that's a process. It takes a while to go through. So that unconditional positive regard that Elise talks about is the best way for a parent to make sure that their children, it feels safe for any conversation, and that it's not going to be a retaliatory or another heated discussion, because that is what's going to make them just go back into those holes and cover them back up and just not want to deal with them.
You know, you bring up a lot, because I think that parents, when it's so easy to defend, you know, you got a child that's even an adult child that's asking you questions. Well, questions have a want to be answered. And I think that sometimes the child is asking the question, not necessarily wanting to hear you make their other parent wrong in the matter. They just want, and you know, you just got to heal yourself and not be triggered. You got to be Teflon, be able to take whatever it is that they dish out and say, I understand.
Yeah, because this is about trust now. Now it's all about trust. Can I trust you? And if you can make me feel comfortable and confident and that I am safe in this conversation, that trust is going to grow exponentially faster than it would if I have to constantly shut it down. Because we, like Elise said, we have this chronic PTSD that follows us through life. And when it starts getting complicated like that, we have to shut it down. If we can't deal with it, our only choice is to shut down. So we need to be able to come out, and we need everybody to have a place that we can exist in a conversation without it becoming that complicated. And sometimes we're asking the question, we're not necessarily asking you to make any kind of excuse. We're asking you straight up, give us a straight up answer in the most loving and caring, positive regard way that you can. Because at this point, it goes back to that trust. We need to build a trust, and trusting means that you trust me with the truth.
Very good. And you popped up on the screen, so I guess that means you're next.
I apologize. I'm bopping back and forth. We've also got a retreat going on at the Resolution Center, so I'm just so glad to be with y'all.
Awesome.
Again.
And and Anne initiated a vigil, a 3-day vigil, and Friday, Saturday, and this morning, just a prayer vigil to generate all that we're creating right now, this whole positive healing environment of this panel discussion. So thank you very much. Just, do you want to, Anne, you want to share a little bit of your insights or what you do?
Sure. If I could just have 2 minutes, I'll share briefly. And I love what Dawn just talked about, like almost that thick skinness that we need to have as alienated parents, that our kiddos can come to us with anything, any subject, even if it's a sticky subject, a subject that perhaps might make us want to fly off the handle, but we're not going to fly off the handle because we're trying to work on being resilient and being faithful. Briefly on faith, about 7 years ago in a support group in Ohio, I met a gal, and she and I prayed together every single day. And we've done this for almost 6 years now. We pray for our exes, we pray for our children, and we pray for our spouses. We pray for our entire community. And that has been one of the most powerful sources of strength for me to get to a healthy place where I am now. So fast forward, have a conversation with Danica, who also is a person of faith and resilience. And we had a 3-day prayer vigil leading up to today, Parental Alienation Awareness Day, with the goal and the intentionality of praying for peace, grace, and patience. And those 3 days of prayer, I mean, it started the day off great. Just like when I pray with my friend in Ohio, when I pray for my ex, I pray for my children, I pray for my spouse. Lifting that up in community, it is so empowering. So, like what Danica's doing with this panel, I mean, it brings me to tears. I'm Irish. I'm sorry. I'm an Irish and a woman, and sometimes I cry. But when I look at the list of all the people on this panel and all of the attendees in the audience, and I pray for them all, because we're all broken inside. We all have a journey. And those of us with PTSD, you know, we're doing the best we can, but we're all broken. We all have the holes. We just want to make sure our kiddos know that they have a parent who's healthy and whole to come back to.
That's right. Yes.
I love that, Anne.
I want to really quick, because I want to end it with Dr. Burnett, kind of looping back where we started. I want Nathan, because he hasn't spoken and he's not necessarily been in this family stabilization community, but he has been like right there by our side as our technical guru coach. So Nathan, I'd like you to share a little bit, you know, what your part to play is in this.
Thank you, Danica. Well, I have a personal experience. I don't know if it's classified parental alienation, but my mom really tried to destroy my relationship with her father because she was hurt when her relationship with him ended. And instead of finding an amicable way to have a relationship with her children, she tried to weaponize them to hurt my dad. And like that didn't work for me. I was 18 and I discovered for myself, like, wow, I really want to have a relationship with my dad. And I got his point of view, which I hadn't had up until that point. And my whole world shifted inside of me being like, I want to have a relationship with my dad. And that's what we've created since I became an adult and was able to get that whole world. What we're creating here, Danica and our whole team, is we've created a social app, a social learning and discovery app. And when I say discovery, I mean the ability for families and parents to come to this app to get access to e-learning materials, to attend events and panels, to join community groups, you know, because I think that's not just in this parental alienation conversation, but I just think generally in society, there's a breakdown in community, and we're not having communities that are forwarding the personal development of people. So, you know, we've built an app for Danica that supports that. And, you know, you can go to hopeforfamilies.com .net/welcome to look at the registration page and if you register for this event, you're actually already registered in the platform. And you can just log in or with the credentials you used to set it up. But I just want to say that this is such an important conversation because I'm the founder of the Hope platform, and we're basically a movement of movements. And I'm really passionate about families having workability Because if you look at anything, whether it's drug addiction, which is a serious thing we're looking at taking on, you're looking at any breakdown, it really comes back to what is their family like? Were they loved? Were they, you know, what does that look like? And so, you know, the platform is really just about facilitating collaboration with you, the professionals, and we have a directory. So by centralizing not just the community aspect, the social aspect, and the learning aspect, but also having a directory of professionals, which we'd like to have all be listed, and some of you are already listed, but having that available because people are looking for resources, right? And we want to make sure we're directing them to people that are actually going to produce value for them, that aren't going to direct them down a $30,000 1-year contentious divorce, but actually can help them to get at the root of what they want to accomplish at the next stage of their life and to have a healthy family, even if it means separation, that's okay. But, you know, we need to have a movement. We need to have a centralization of these resources, whether it's the learning modules, whether it's the events, the community, or the directory of it all. So, you know, we want to invite you to be a part of the team. We'd like to also, as panelists, we'd like to have more conversations like this, actually having more live streams and broadcasts. I get having 14 people in here. We don't all get to like talk all that much, but maybe we can do a series over the next couple months and we can do 2 or 3 of you at a time. And that way there's a more expansiveness and we can dive deep with each of you. But those are some of the collaborations we like to create. And ultimately it's about collaboration. It's like, how can we work together to make this work? And the marketplace is plenty big for all of us. I think, especially considering how much money gets washed out in divorce, I think there's plenty, and there's just plenty of work at this stage to be done. So we want to foster collaborative partnerships with each of you. And I think that's why we're all here. So that's all I want to share. If anyone else wants to say anything, thank you.
Hey, Danica.
Yes.
But before, I know we want to close with Dr. Burnett, but could I say a few words just about our work together?
Of course.
The Florida Families, it's the group that I founded with 2 other partners. We're an alternative to adversarial family court litigation that helps parents who are contemplating divorce make better informed decisions. We take our inspiration from a quote from Buckminster Fuller, which says, "You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the old model, the existing model, obsolete." And so Florida Families is a community outreach group. And Kids Need Both brings vetted professionals, resources who are all about empowering parents and including keeping them out of family court if possible. So it's a little different angle taking the approach that we're taking together.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love the partnerships. I think from 20 years ago when I was seeking resources and just desperate for anything and everything, it was difficult to find that. And my mission 20 years ago was to pool everything together, get everything together and then I sort of like, passed it forward and said, here, I've collaborated. And that was when I just barely knew about web pages and stuff like that. And I put all the resources I found on one page. So this is definitely, 20 years down the road creating this. And it's not launched yet. It's in pre-launch phase. So the goal is, so you guys are the first to kind of really know about it. All right. Can
I add one more thing?
Yes.
The name of the game nowadays with all the internet and stuff is content. And I mean, how many of us get overwhelmed with creating content, whether it's video, broadcasting? It's just too much. You got to create, and it's just like you're spread thin. Well, the idea is we can work together to create content. And that's what we've been doing in my network. And that's what Danica is starting to do, is creating a syndicate of content. And we work together to create the content. And we also work together to share the content. And we found the secret to virality, or the secret to reaching and penetrating the market, is working together to share across the entire community. So you know, that's why I think ultimately this is going to be effective, is because we're working together to get the message out, to get the message that this is even a possibility, that there's another way.
Exactly. You know, I don't need to be, I mean, I've got lots of recognition on my wall, but it's not really, to me, I'm thinking if I could forward the expertise of all of you panelists in the room, then my voice gets expanded exponentially, because I'm speaking about your event and, you know, what you have, your book and stuff like that. And if I can do that for you guys, we all win. All right, so last 3 minutes, and I want Dr. Burnett to share what he shared at the very beginning for those who missed out. Go ahead.
Well, y'all, this has been a great way to spend some time on Parental Alienation Awareness Day, and thanks to Danica. Thanks for all these wonderful ideas that have come up from Mark and Tori and Dawn, and then Nathan had some really good ideas. My little tiny corner of all this big picture is in writing articles and chapters. And the thing that Amy Baker and I have been pushing the last few years is a method for diagnosing parental alienation, which we call the 5-factor model for the diagnosis of parental alienation. And if you want the article itself, the easiest way to get in touch with me is to go to the website, Parental Alienation Study Group website, which is pasg.info, I-N-F-O. So I'll give you a real quick rundown of the 5 factors in the 5-factor model. First of all, the child is rejecting a relationship with one of the parents. Secondly, the child used to have a good relationship with the parent. Thirdly, it's not because of abuse or neglect on the part of that parent. In other words, the parent is a good parent that the child is now rejecting for without a good reason. Fourth are the alienating behaviors, but there's plenty of research on these, but we typically count 17 common alienating behaviors, and you have to have some of them. You don't have to have all of them, but you have to have some of them for factor 4. And factor 5 are the 8 behavioral signs or symptoms of alienation in the child. These are the same 8 things that Richard Gardner talked about in 1985, and we still use the same criteria. So what's interesting is that all 3 members of the triad are involved in these factors: the mom, the dad, the child. And the other thing that's really important is that this is not a whole new invention, that Amy and I have simply collapsed together the ideas that have been published for more than 30 years. And so we try to make it systematic, to make it look like it is a coherent whole, and that both clinicians can use it in making the diagnosis, and in court, it can be used in court for making the diagnosis. So that's my little spiel. But this has been a great activity this afternoon, and we appreciate everybody's involvement, and hope to see you soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Burnett. And thank you all for joining us. Thank you for our wonderful panelists that I'm sure we'll be in touch again very soon. Our goal is to do a panel discussion once a month. This is the first of 12 over the next 12 months. So, and we're going to try to get different ones, and maybe we'll size it down to a smaller group so we can actually talk about a specific topic. Who knows? Thank you for joining us, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And remember, April 25th is Parental Alienation Awareness Day, and there's such a group, such a huge community there for you. Have a great evening.
Say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Good work, Lucy.
All right. Okay, in stream. There. All right. Bye, guys. Love ya.
Bye. Love you. Thank you, everybody.